Hey there folks, Mr. G here again. We got our board ready in Fusion. It looks nice and pretty, everything's lined up. Now we actually have to put in all of the rules that allows for our copper traces to be laid out. So there's a little bit of prep work in order for us to do that. And the step is to go over to where it says rules. So design, document, we're going to go to where it says rules. Okay, in our rules, we have a bunch of different options. We have our actual design rules. We have a checker to make sure it's all good. And we have some preferences, and these are slightly different. They do the same thing, except a rule means it has to be followed to the law. A preference is like, if this works, that'd be great, but if it doesn't, it'll be okay. So we're going to go to the Rules tab first. Open that up, blah, 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 blah. And there's going to be a ton of different options here. Now, if we go through these one by one, it'll make a lot more sense. Right now, it's probably a lot of information to take in. But the main things that we need to worry about is that we are creating enough copper on the board so that we have a lot of space to solder to, and if the etching process doesn't go so well, it will be forgiving for us. So anywhere where it says clearance on the board is the distance between components. So we're never really all that worried about things getting too close together. If they're too close together, the only danger is that solder, when we're soldering the components to our board, will jump onto another path. But outside of that, we actually want to keep as much copper as possible. So we'll leave the clearance rules for now, and we'll just see how it looks. But what we want is things like sizes. These are really, really important. So our drill size, we actually want to make our drill size very, very small. Our drill size is how big is that hole on the board, and we are drilling this by hand. So if we have a really big drill hole, that's less room for us to solder. So we're actually going to make this much, much smaller. So we're going to change this. We'll maybe go 3 mil. We'll start with that. And we'll keep that 3 mil. Okay. We will see what that looks like. The next, we've got our copper width here. So this is the width of every single one of our traces. So 6 mil is really, really, really tiny. We maybe want this to be way bigger. The more copper, the better. Because as you know, the same as sizes of wires, the more copper we have, the more electrical current can flow down the copper. If it's super tiny, it doesn't really bring all that much. And also on our boards, if there's a little mistake, a little nick, it's not very forgiving. So we're going to make this huge. We'll start with 80 and see how that looks. And we'll make those both 80. And yeah, we'll see how that turns out. Now we're going to go to the custom rules. So up at the top, these are the general rules. We'll roll over to the custom rules. In the custom rules, this is if you're getting way more complex with a board and you really want to get deep into it. For this project, we don't need to worry about this so much, but if you are making more advanced printed circuit boards, we may have to start writing up our own custom rules. But for now, we can just click OK and save. Now we're going to go over to that preferences page. So we're going to hit on preferences. And this goes to, let's go to the layer stack tab. And this is showing us what our board will actually look like. This is if we are looking at our board from the side. Where's the top? Where's the bottom? And as you can see, this is a 2-layer stack. We only have a 1 layer. And we're actually going to only be using the bottom. You can change the properties of the top, the bottom, everything, how big it is. We don't really care because we're just doing a printout. So all of this doesn't really matter so much, but it is very important we know we're doing everything. If you go to the annular ring, this is where we can adjust the size of our pads. Now again, we want nice big pads. This is really important because this is the only surface that you have to solder. So we want to worry about our bottom here. This is crucial. We don't care about the top, we don't care about the inner, because we only can do a one-layer board. We just need the pads there. If we did our traces at 80 mils, we want it to be at least 80 mils. If it doesn't look good, we can go back and change it. But we'll do maybe 90 mils for our minimum and 120 for our max. We'll see how that looks. It might be terrible and we may have to change it. Shapes, supply, all of these are things that if you had a more advanced printed circuit board system than we do, you'd be able to use. We only care about this right here. So I'm going to go in and click OK right at the bottom. All right, as you can see, maybe I'm getting a little carried away. My pads are insane. They're huge. Okay, the moral of the story here, you want to make them as big as possible, but you also need to be within reason. So start big, tone it back. The bigger, the better. This is all of the soldering surface area you have. So we're going to go back into those preferences, and we're going to go to our annular ring. And we're going to make this maybe, let's try 60. And we'll make this 90. And click OK. Oh, yes. Okay, that's looking a little bit better. For the big ones, that's good where they're not knocking into each other, but maybe a little overkill there still. So go in again. Doesn't hurt to do this. You're going to find your preferences of what works to you. Let's try 40 and 60. Okay, we're getting much closer. I actually really like the size of the bigger ones. Some of the other ones we can adjust manually, or we can go in and just have our one size to be smaller. So if the bottom, the minimum is 40, we can make the minimum a little bit smaller and keep the maximum bigger. So let's say we make this 25. And let's see how we like the look of that. Okay. Oh, yeah. All right. Now we're talking. That's good. We're close, but we're not touching. I'm pretty happy with that. The next thing we're going to want to do is go into layers. So if you are in the right-hand side here, we have some properties. We have some layers. We have the ability to select things. We've got all sorts of, we've got any errors. And these are all of our errors right now. And we can go in and change everything on all of these, and we'll go over that in a minute. But I want to focus on layers right now. So the first thing we want to make sure of is that we are working in the correct layer. You know how I was saying we only are working in the bottom layer? This top layer, what we're going to do is make sure we're not on it. We're going to be on the bottom. You can also change that at the top here. And then when we start doing our traces, we can go back to design, and we start drawing our traces. I go from here to here. You'll notice it's blue. Blue is what we want. If it's not blue and it's red, that's how you know the difference. You're drawing on the wrong side of your board. So I'm going to do one, for example. We go from here, grab a trace, and we go from here to here. That would be bad news bears. This is the wrong side of our board, so we would want to delete that and go back and change this. So in our next video, we are going to go over routing. I'm really happy with the size of everything here. I think it looks really good. We could maybe tone down the size of our copper traces a little bit, but I think it's going to be good for now. We'll tweak that as we go. But yeah, we'll get into how to route everything in our next video. So thanks for watching, and see you there.